3-1, Lines and Angles, Part 2. So in the first chapter, we talked about some different angle relationships. We talked about linear pairs, we talked about vertical angles, we talked about adjacent angles. We're going to add some more vocab to that today. The first one is if we have two lines cut by a third line, we call that line the transversal. So in this picture here, I have two lines L and M, and they're cut by this third line, and we call it the transversal. I like to think of it kind of as a club sandwich, you know, a club sandwich that you get at a restaurant that has layers of bread and meat and cheese in it, and they have to put a toothpick through it to hold the sandwich together. So the toothpick's kind of like the transversal. And when you do that, you've got all of the things, these angles that are formed up here at this point of intersection. I have angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, angle 4. I can measure all those with a protractor. And down here, where these two lines intersect, I have 4 more angles. So I have the exterior angles that are on the outside of the sandwich, if you will, and the angles, angle 3, 4, 5, and 6 that are inside. So again, chapter 1, angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent. Angle 1 and angle 2 are a linear pair. Angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. 2 and 4 are vertical angles. And you could talk about those same scenarios down here with 5, 6, and 7, and 8. But now we're going to talk about the relationship between the angles up here in this intersection with the angles down here. The first pairing is called alternate interior angles. So we're going to talk about a pair of alternate interior angles. They are non-adjacent interior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So when I look at angle 4 here, angle 4 is formed right here. Its alternate interior angle would be the angle 6 that's formed down here because it's on a different side of the transversal, but it's also interior. But that's not the only alternate interior pair. We could also talk about angle 3 and angle 5. The next grouping is called same side interior angles. So again, they are angles that are inside those two lines, but they have to be on the same side of the transversal. So one pair would be angle 4 and angle 5. The other pair would be angle 3 and angle 6. Corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are angles that lie on the same side of the transversal in corresponding positions. Now, it's not very fair to use the word corresponding in the definition. So let's just take a look. So corresponding means same side of the transversal, but they're either both going to be above those two lines or below. So an example would be angle 1 and angle 5. Another example would be angle 4 and angle 8. They're on the same side of the transversal, but they're both below the two lines or the pieces of bread. There are 2 more combinations, angle 2 and angle 6, and the last pairing there would be angle 3 and angle 7. One more grouping is called alternate exterior angles. So notice again, the word exterior is key information, but they're going to be on opposite sides of the transversal. So let's go up and take a look at the picture. So the only angles in question are the ones that are outside of those two lines on the exterior. So I've got angles 1, 2, 8, and 7. But when we talk about our pairings, they have to be on different sides of the transversal. So 2 and 8 would be alternate exteriors. 1 and 7 are alternate exteriors. Remember, we always talk about them in groups of 2. It's a pair. So if I put these down here, I said angle 2 and I think it was angle 7. And no, it was 2 and 8. I apologize. Angle 2 and angle 8. The other pairing is angle 1 and angle 7. Okay, so why don't you do this one on your own, pause the video, and then come back and see if you got them right. Okay, here we are. So all of the corresponding pairs in this picture are, when we're talking corresponding, there's actually 4 pairings. So we've got angle 1 and angle 5. Notice that I'm always putting the angle symbol over in front of these. They're not just numbers. You don't just say 1 and 5. You need to say angle 1, angle 5. Angle 3 and angle 7. Another pair is angle 2 and angle 6. And the last one pairing is angle 4 and angle 8. So remember, this one's our transversal. It's like the toothpick. These are your 2 pieces of bread. So these are your interior angles. These are the exterior angles. Okay, alternate interior. 3 and 6. And angle 4 and angle 5. Alternate exteriors. Angle 2 and angle 7. Or another option would be angle 1 and angle 8. Same side interior. Angle 3 and angle 5. They're both inside. They're both on the same side of the transversal. Or angle 4 and angle 6. So that was pretty much like the one you had above. Now, if we make a more complicated picture, it says classify each angle pair as corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior, or same side interior. But here we have 4 lines instead of just 3. So any one of these lines could be the transversal. It just depends on what angles we're talking about. So if I take a look, first of all, at angle 1 and angle 9, you need to identify where they are and which lines are being used to form them. So if I use my line tool here, I'll just use a segment, and it doesn't really matter what color we use, but I'll use red. So angle 1 is formed by this line and this line. Angle 9 is formed by the one I just drew and this one. So in this scenario, it makes, should have used a different color. Where's my pen? It makes this line right here the transversal. Okay? So we really don't even need to look at this stuff over here. When we're comparing 1 and 9, we're just looking at these 3 lines, these angle groupings over here. They are both on the same side of the transversal, and they are both above those lines. So we call those corresponding. Okay? So now let's do 8 and 13. I'm going to actually change the color of this line. Change it to green, and I'm going to make another green line over here. And I called that transversal line T. I'm going to name the rest of these lines so it's easier for me to talk about it. Let's call this one angle or line R. We'll call this line L and this line M. That way I can refer to the lines. All right. So now I need to get rid of my highlighting here, and let's talk about angle 8 and angle 13. here is angle 8, here's angle 13. So we're only talking about lines L, M, and R, so just ignore line T. 8 and 13 are inside of L and M. They're interior angles, and they're on the same side of the transversal. So right there, I just named them. Same side interior. If you describe their location, it really tells you what the name of them is. Okay, next grouping. Six and 16. Here's 6, here's 16. So again, I can ignore the other angles over there by line T. I'm only concerned with line R, L, and M. 6 is on the outside, it's an exterior. 16 is on the exterior. They are on different sides of the transversal. So we call those alternate exterior angles. Okay, next one, 4 and 10. 4, 10. I'm going to ignore line R. I'm looking at lines T, L, and M. 4 and 10 are interior angles. They're both between those lines L and M. They're on different sides of the transversal. So we call those alternate interior angles. And 8 and 16. Here's 8, here's 16. We can ignore this stuff over here. We've got line L and M, transversal is R. They're on the same side of the transversal, but they're in corresponding positions. 8 is below line L, and 16 is below line M. So we call those corresponding. And the last grouping would be 10 and 13. Here's 10, here's 13. So this time, we are ignoring all of this stuff up here. I have line T and I have line R. They're cut by line M. M is our transversal this time. So 9 and 12, 14 and 15 would be exteriors. 10, 11, 13, and 16 are my interiors. So 10 and 13, they're interior. Well, are they on the same side of the transversal or different? They're on the same side. So we call those same side interior. All right, you can get started on your Math Excel assignment, and this one is just pretty much answer them. You do not need to submit any work in Canvas. Just do the work on Math Excel.